For thousands of years, the ocean has been our greatest provider. Its vast blue waters have fed communities, shaped cultures, and sustained civilizations. From the first coastal fishers casting handmade nets to today's global seafood industry, humanity has always turned to the sea for nourishment. Beyond its bounty, the ocean gives us more than food. It supports millions of livelihoods, fuels coastal economies, and brings joy through recreation and tradition. And the health benefits are undeniable. Rich in nutrients, seafood remains a cornerstone of diets around the world. But beneath the surface lies a growing concern. Our demand is outpacing nature's ability to recover.
So, what are the biggest challenges facing our oceans today in terms of providing food for a growing population?
So besides the obvious like climate change and things associated with that, I would say it is our stock levels. So currently 33% of global stocks are deemed as unsustainably fished. So we can't just keep taking from the oceans.
Overfishing now threatens the delicate balance of marine life, and with it, the very future of our ocean as a sustainable food source. But while the ocean provides us with the essentials for survival, unsustainable practices and poor management have pushed this resource to its limits.
Can you give an example of how overfishing has impacted ecosystems or communities?
So overfishing leads to the depletion of fish populations. It threatens food security and livelihoods by removing fish faster than what they can reproduce.
According to data from the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, nearly 40% of the world's fish stocks are overexploited. If the trend continues, the consequences will ripple through entire ecosystems. Overfishing disrupts the natural balance of marine food webs, leading to ecosystem collapse and reducing the ocean's long-term ability to provide food for humanity. This also jeopardizes future food security as current generations consume and sometimes discard the very resources meant to sustain those to come. But overfishing isn't the only concern. The methods used to catch fish can also devastate marine habitats. Globally, bottom trawling remains one of the most common fishing techniques, accounting for about a quarter of all fish caught. This method involves dragging heavy nets across the seafloor, which destroys delicate marine structures and habitats. Studies have shown that it also releases large amounts of stored carbon from ocean sediments, which contributes to climate change. Although the overall use of bottom trawling has declined in some regions, it continues to expand rapidly in others, particularly in China and India. As of 2018, 27.45 million tons of wild fish were caught using bottom trawling, according to the data from Sea Around Us. If the oceans are to continue feeding the world, the path forward must include sustainable fishing practices, effective management, and global cooperation. One of the ways towards a more sustainable path is through agriculture.
What is aquaculture and why is it becoming so important?
So aquaculture is when we take wild species and then put them in a farm setting. So instead of capturing fish and feeding them straight to humans, we capture them, then farm them, and then feed to humans. And so the way that it can help improve food security is that we're no longer taking fish from the ocean. We are able to regenerate them. So we're putting them through like a breeding cycle, and we, in theory, have an endless supply, and then we're no longer taken from those wild sources that will then impact overfishing and the negative impacts associated with that.
And what are some of the risks or criticisms of aquaculture and how can they be managed?
So many aquaculture species, especially in Western countries, including Australia, are carnivorous. So they have high dietary protein requirements that are often delivered in the form of wild caught fish, which is referred to as fish meal. So we're taking wild fish to feed to farm fish to feed to humans, which is obviously quite unsustainable and is not actually resolving the issue that we have in the first place of overfishing. So that's one of the biggest scrutinies, but there are ways to overcome that. So coming up with novel feed sources. And then a second one is if you're farming in bodies of open water, like in cages, if you're then having nutrient leaching from deceased fish, excess food, as well as if you're using antibiotics as well, there can be knock-on effects into the ecosystem from that. But again, we have alternatives to that where we can do land-based farming, for example.
Although the challenges are big, the solutions are as well. Another solution that we don't hear about often is seaweed.
So seaweed farming can be seen as a promising solution in two different ways. Probably the primary way at the moment is in a secondary source. So actually feeding seaweed to, for example, ruminant species like cows to reduce their methane emissions. And then the primary way would be through direct consumption. So there are a lot of ways that can be used. It can be either used as a processed item, so for instance agar and gelatin, but then there's also the unprocessed way where it's just direct consumption, which isn't as common at the moment, but there are huge benefits to seaweed and algae because they are high in the omega-3s and 6s, and that's the reason why we eat seafood in the first place anyway. So the two probably leaders of seaweed farming in the world is China and Indonesia, but there is a long way to go for many other countries, for instance Australia as well, where we've only really in the recent years have started investigating in that. So although we do have some leaders, as a whole there's so much more that needs to be done in this space.
For too long, we have taken more than what the ocean could provide. Right now, we have the capacity to give back when we harvest. Seaweed farms that clean our ocean while feeding our world. It is not just sustainable, it is regenerative. Our farms become nurseries for wild populations to recover. When we farm the sea, we want to maintain the habitat, not destroy it. This future isn't just about fishing. It's also about feeding humanity. Just imagine, wild fish stocks recovering while we produce more food than ever. This is already happening around the world as we speak. Thousands are already building the future for the oceans. Together, we can restore the abundance. You don't need permission to be part of this. You don't need a professional degree to contribute. Anyone can help. Share what you learn, spread the word. The future is blue and it starts today. The ocean is ready. Are you?